on mediation, dispute resolution, and that's why I'm here to provide you. So some people were like, what's he got to do with dispute resolution, conflict resolution? I come from Syracuse University, the #1 and first conflict resolution conflict studies program in the world, the Maxwell School. It's beat out Harvard for 25 years. I also was a faculty fellow at Hamilton University Law School for a number of years, which was the 3rd best dispute resolution program of law schools in the country. Now it's the 4th. The 3rd is Yale. I'm here just to facilitate dialogue, which I don't know anything about, and I'm not invested at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm here just to facilitate, and I facilitated at Syracuse, New York, Philadelphia, Twin Cities, St. Paul on a lot of these issues. I've also worked in a lot of different prisons and juvenile detention centers. And in Salt Lake, as well as all of Utah, my office is on the same floor as all the posts. Anybody know what a post is? Police officer safety training. My office is on the same, all the Utah posts of the whole state. So I do a lot of training of negotiation with the FBI as well as local law enforcement nationally. That's my background, okay? Just wanted to let you all know a little bit about me, okay? So that being said, we have a few volunteers. And just to, so you know what's going on, we have the outline back there, which I'll walk back and then we can kind of look at it together. And then here's the ground rules. And I'll read the ground rules to you. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're gonna do this really smooth, casually, and then what the goal is, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and then I can step back, and then you all do it for yourselves. Does that make sense? Right, great. So we have Kayla. She's in my criminal law class at Salt Lake Community College, and she is wanting to be a lawyer. So that's awesome. Brock, who is a student, former student of mine, he was academic excellence at Salt Lake Community College, now at the University of Utah, and getting a master's in social work there. And then we also have, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Wasim.
Okay, wonderful. And so we have a number of people. Come on in, take some more chairs. Do we have more chairs in this facility?
So I think this is it.
Cool. Right. So the good thing is about this, everybody needs a pen or something to write on. And there's pens up front near there. So if you don't have them, Brock, can you help pass out pens?
Yeah,
And everybody's going to need a little stack of sticky notes. Does that make sense, everybody? If you don't, I have some sticky notes. You can pass them around. Who does not have sticky notes? Just like a little, here we go. Here, 1, 2. Ready? Okay, perfect.
Sticky notes?
All right. You need sticky notes or anything? Beautiful. I love your colors. Nice. Galveston, Texas? I have a house there. Yeah. You know Galveston much? Do you know Palisades?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the house. Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah, Galveston's awesome. My family's in Texas. Yeah. So, all right, everybody. Everyone got a pen and some sticky notes? Thumbs up on that? Awesome. All right, beautiful. Okay, cool. Pens up front. So pens or pencils up front. We can't move forward if we leave people behind.
He has them.
And if you can, people coming in, if you can, just be communal, meaning like if somebody doesn't have sticky notes and pens, please kind of help each other out. Make sense? Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to walk back there, and then I'm going to give you the whole outline, ideally, of today. But we don't know if we're going to get there. Does that make sense? But we'll take our patience and kind of move together. So, again, my name is Anthony.
No.
You know, and then
Seeking problem solving over here.
Everybody's facing that way, I'm not gonna keep your neck. All right. Okay, cool. So. Awesome. All right. Outline of today is really simple. If you can't see it, that's fine. I'm going to read it out loud. Okay. So it's going to be a welcoming, which we're kind of doing right now. And then I'm going to be talking about the ground rules. I'm just going to go down the outline because some people feel like what's going on here. They get anxiety. There's tension. There's frustration. So just transparency is some of the most beautiful things, but sometimes we don't have that in our families, in our communities, in our organizations, companies. So transparency decreases stress. Does that make sense? So identify the issue. What we're going to do is you're going to write ideally one or two things. Okay. Let's go with three. Okay. Everybody, three things. Okay. We're going with a basis of trust. Make sense, everybody? So I'm going to put three things down here. Boom, boom, boom. The issues when it comes to Erda. Does that make sense? Your issues. And we're going to put them up here, and we're going to say, everybody go. Don't rush and don't push people. Don't be mean, etc. You get three, 1, 2, 3, then you're done. And then you sit down. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, cool. Then when we get those issues, then we're going to look at them, and then we're going to look at making those issues and examining the problems of those issues. All right, so getting a little deeper. Does that make sense? You got to like start with a little like basic general, and then you get a little deeper. And then we're going to ask you is let's move those problems that we see into some solutions. I'm sure everybody could raise their hand and hear this idea of I hate talking about problems. I want to talk about solutions. Everybody's got a problem, but we need solutions. Does that make sense? Rather than us putting the weight and the responsibility on city council or the government, we're going to empower ourselves to come up with some solutions. Does that make sense, y'all? And they're here, right? So if you are a member of city council, can you raise your hand? Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. So if you can, put them up again because I know some people just... Okay, great. Thank you so much. So what they said, and we met back and forth, we had a lot of communication, is you've got to empower the community to take on the responsibility. Does that make sense? So the major thing is, even with a child, if they don't feel empowered to make their own decisions, they get frustrated, they get mad, they get angry. The exact same process of a child getting angry is how adults get angry. You start yelling, i.e. protests, right? Like protests for whatever. If they're not being heard for pro-life, pro-choice, the million other issues. Does that make sense, everybody? This is an opportunity to, and I said the city council, you all need to start listening. Does that make sense? So this is an opportunity to listen, or should we say read, right? So we're going to look at issues, we're going to look at problems, and we're going to look at solutions. And you might come back March 11th or March 17th and look, you might come back to the next issue and say, hey, everybody, I wasn't here. Can we catch up? Yep. So we've got a few of the city council. They'll put the whole thing up again, right? Does that make sense? And then we'll focus on that. So when it comes to 8 o'clock tonight, it's not over, right? We're going to work on this. And then when you all, not with anybody else, but don't get into too much detail, right? We're just getting started, right? Baby steps, okay? So identify the issue, name the issue, which is, number the issue, so we'll number what the issues are, define the problem of the issue, so the problem, solution, and then we're going to just do a quick evaluation. What do you think of the process, right? What do you think of it? Was it lousy? Do you feel like you were railroaded? Was it too long? Was it too short? Does that make sense, everybody? Like, what a concept, evaluating the people that you are, somewhat paying, or you're not paying me, but, like understanding that you all have it invested. And then it might be I want more masks. Okay, that's cool. That's an evaluation. Or I'd rather see different kind of markers because I can't see blue that well. Okay, evaluations are not a negative thing. It's a feedback. Does that make sense? And I can always do better, and everybody else can, unless you're perfect, and I don't know anybody that's perfect. Okay, so ground rules. Okay, everybody, just kind of nod like horses. Anybody seen a horse nod? Okay, so no interrupting, one mic. So if somebody does have a question, just kind of like raise your hand. There's not going to be too much talking. There's going to be you all coming up here and like sticking to it. And then once you all are done that, you're going to sit down and I'll say stop. We're going to look at this and then we're going to move those issues to here and then we're going to write them on there. I'm going to, or with my volunteers. Does that make sense? And then you're going to go again, go over there and put sticky notes, right? And then you're going to say, I'll say stop, and then we're going to go over here and put solutions. Does that make sense? And then I'll say stop. And then we're not going to implement the solutions because we need money, we need time, we need resources. Certain things will take 10 years. Certain things might take a minute, right? Like picking up trash after yourself, right? So attack the idea, not the person. Sound good? Yeah. A lot of people, when it comes to attack the idea, not the person, when people get really frustrated, they don't know how to attack the idea. Like, okay, you don't like Donald Trump, for example, then tell me one policy that you don't like about Donald Trump. I don't know, buddy. He's orange. He's ugly. He smells funny. Biden, he's old. He can't even talk. He's got a stutter problem. I'm like, okay, but what about him? I don't know. Like, he's got no hair. And it's just like, and we get petty. So again, we're attacking the person, not the idea. Does that make sense, everybody? Attack the idea, right? And if you can't attack the idea, go back and do some research, right? So assume the best in people. What a concept, right? Assume the best. Most people don't want to kill other people, right? I worked in a lot of prisons, Attica, Sing Sing, 5 Points. I worked in over 50 different prisons. I've seen a lot of horrible things, right? Attack the idea, not the person. Majority of people that are hurting are because they got hurt. Hurt people, okay? Okay, keep it short and sweet. If you've got a concept or a sticky note, keep it, your issues and your problems, keep under 4 words. Does that make sense? Do not put a paragraph. You're not publishing books today. Okay, does that make sense? So if there's a problem, okay, or identify the issue in Erda. What is it? It could be agriculture and animals. Just write agriculture and animals. You don't have to say the 4 horses on the 3rd row, on the 2nd, that like, you know, that's brown and black, but I like the white one. Like, okay? Again, do not put people's names. Anthony, I don't like him. He wears purple. Okay? My favorite color is actually pink, but you know, so I'm favoring a few people already. Okay, but so so again, keep it short and sweet. All right, with your sticky notes, 4 words or less. Okay, everybody. And if you need help on articulating yourself, say, hey, this is my problem, and go up to somebody and say, hey, this is my problem. How can you articulate it? And they might help you out. Does that make sense, everybody? Lean on each other. It's a good song. Okay. 3 than me, if we are going to talk, let 3 people talk before you talk. You know, did you ever go to a room and one person just talks for like 2 hours and you just get even more frustrated? All right, let other people talk. Share the mic, okay? Okay, no yuck on my yum, okay? What does that mean? If you like something, don't put it down because you don't like it. I didn't ask. I don't drink coffee, okay? But did you ask if I like coffee or not? No. But she seems to like coffee. She got a hoodie that says coffee, okay? But first, coffee, okay? Galveston, Texas. Oh, I hate Galveston. I didn't ask you, right? Like, don't put down people's perspectives if you don't agree with it. Nobody asked you, right? Does that make sense? I like the Yankees, right? Nobody asked that, all right? Like, oh, I hate the Yankees. I like Boston. Like, okay, I'm just saying what I like. That's all. Like, and that should be a place. So no yuck on my yum, no yelling. Sound good? Unless you gotta project. Okay, just like I'm projecting right now. Okay. So, but don't yell at people. No insulting words. Everybody knows what an insulting word is. It hurts, right? Promote peace and inclusion. Can we do that? Just like peace is a beautiful thing, right? A lot of the greatest peacemakers in great textbooks and books have all promoted peace and love. What a concept, right? Foster patience, right? Just because, what's your name? Mike. Just because Mike got something in 2 minutes doesn't mean that, what's your name? Shelly can get it in 2 minutes, or she might get it in 1 minute. Just be patient. Does that make sense, everybody? Be patient, right? So if we don't do anything tonight, these ground rules will get you started in the right direction. And keep them, and use them over and over again. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. I've used these ground rules for the Crips and the Bloods, and I don't think there's anybody Crips and Bloods here, all right? Even though I found out today you have a lot of guns, all right? But I'm not a gun owner. I grew up in Philly, so if somebody's got guns, you're using it to protect yourself. Here, I articulated myself to a few people that said, oh, we got guns. Sometimes guns are a part of culture and not a part of actually using it. Sometimes you got a gun and it's not even loaded. It's just something that you wear or you have. Does that make sense? So, again, these are the ground rules. This is the outline. Everybody good? Okay, no more than 4 words on a piece of paper and 3 sticky notes for each individual on the issues. Make sense, everybody? Okay, so the issues begin here, here. Do not use this or that wall. Make sense, everybody? Okay, so what I will ask you to do is write your 3 issues down, okay? So begin writing your issues down, and then what I will do is call on a few rows, so there'll be like not a stampede, and there'll be a few rows, and then this row or this row will go, and they'll put their names up. So it'll be visual. So, what's your name?
Liz.
Liz. Wonderful Liz from Galveston, maybe. I don't know where are you from? From Erda? Okay, cool. So Liz will come up here, and everybody will see her put the 3 notes up and then go down. Does that make sense, everybody? So when somebody's like, hey, Liz put 17 things up, but we'll take our time to see that through. Does that make sense, everybody? All right, well, begin writing. And if you don't have sticky notes and a pen, we'll begin. And I'm not gonna repeat myself that often because you don't wanna hear my voice. But if you can share, like, somebody just came in, like, what's going on? Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so begin writing. 3 sticky notes, 4 words on a sticky note. If you need sticky notes, Brock and Kayla will come around.
Some more sticky notes.
Good.
Anybody need some sticky notes? Sticky notes. Anybody need sticky notes? I've got sticky notes.
Each individual is allowed to have 3 sticky notes to go on the issues. If there's a dying issue, raise your hand and be like, I got 4, and we'll talk about it. People are still writing the issues down, so we'll just take our time. If you are ready, raise your hand. Okay, cool. Do you want to come up here? Okay, if you could call up on a few people. Caleb, if you could call up, if you yep, come on down.
So what I do, just stick them up here?
Yep, stick them up here.
Eddie.
And try to keep to like 4 words or less, okay? We're going to get to more words the farther we go down this journey. So we're gonna do more words on the problems and a lot more words on the solutions. Does that make sense, everybody? More words or less?
Okay. These sticky notes, everything already like 4 words. I have 5 on one of them. Then we're supposed to put them up there.
Back in the land of the living.
No, yeah.
Doing this.
Sure, for sure. If everybody can hear me, can you take a stop? Can you stop for a second? This is a good stop. This is a really good stop. Can everyone stop for a second? Right, just listen to me. Okay, so a gentleman came up to me, okay, and wrote something. And, could I use you as an example? Cool. All right. He asked a question, and this is a really important thing because we don't want to jump steps. So if everyone, don't put any sticky notes up there. So he wrote high density, and I said high density population. He says, yep. And he says, well, under that, and if some people can see, there's a line that says high density, and then he wrote the problems. And I said, don't write the problems yet. That's what that's for. We'll talk about the problems of high density. And he said, which I would agree, and I think everybody, when you get more people, there's going to be more conflict. Does that make sense? More conflict, more pollution. If you have no cars, you don't got any pollution. Maybe, I don't know. Cows cause a lot of pollution, right? So all depending. Does that make sense? So we just want to focus on the issue. We'll talk about the problems over there. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. Keep on going, everybody. And you can take your tab and just write the issue. So somebody wrote, and I don't know, water. That's awesome. It's just enough information to have a dialogue. If you talk so much, we got nothing to talk about. Okay, cool, you got it. That's good. It's too specific, we'll work on it.
Hey, good to see you.
If I don't know what it is, it's probably good, right? So like spot zoning, I don't know what you mean by that, but we'll have a conversation about it. Does that make sense? Don't give your cards away too quick, you know? This is like blackjack, you know? Texas Hold'em. Anybody play Texas Hold'em in here? So one of the big things, I did this with Durango, Colorado, and there was a major spill in Durango, Colorado. The EPA came in, and they were seeing if the mountain was holding the cement of the toxic sewage of the mine in Silverton, Colorado. And they hit so hard that it opened it up. I'm like, well, it was doing good before he came. And it spilled, and for months and years, for about 2 years, the river going from Silverton all the way to New Mexico was yellow. I mean, like yellow like your shirt, right? It was bright. And so I did this for them to talk about these issues. They sued the EPA, feds came in, everybody came in. And one thing I found out is I rolled these up and they all fell on the ground and I didn't know where they went. So I got masking tape, and afterwards your city council will help me pick them up so we don't lose any of them, okay? So just like somebody came up here, a few people, they came off, we'll tape them up so we don't lose where they are. The turquoise is the problems, the blue is the solutions. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so if you all can, take a few minutes, relax. I've got to hit the major 10 issues that we're going to talk about today. So you're going to have a socialize. Brock and Kayla and myself are going to come up here and just tally them up. Does that make sense, everybody? Cool. And yeah, you can take pictures if you want. Okay, cool. Yes. Right here, high density.
Yeah.
Your mom? It's super fast. Okay, good. All right. Good. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Either way.
I hope the traffic. We can make
I think it was. No, it's tribute to Diane.
Some people probably would.
Very, so you said.
If you go back to what, 70, so
I saw it today.
what department?
Good area, I apologize, it's a little loud. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm always in the way.
You know where they're going?
What's going on, Mike? When the introduction.
Okay, Alan, what is it?
DJ, Job change for horses.
Okay.
No sign. Right out in. 55 miles an hour.
Okay, this scale gets just to job
Just barely.
and just. Flight parking, suspension, commutation.
My way home. Sorry. My bad.
So, not a it's nice. But I was in the back. My little table, my have a couple here tonight.
Before they were like, maybe we should have
Like this guy.
That was my biggest.
So then, our attorney Trump, she said that the laws had changed. People wanted a bottle, she could give them one, but we couldn't take more than one. I was thinking, well, if you want a bottle, give me.
Everybody has.
These guys come
I
here.
worked undercover
They pull
for 2 years.
They can't see past the attorney's right.
There's problems at state projects. Go buy boots for Utah State Liquor.
I pull in here and I see attorney and I say,
And
this car can't see.
it's stupid. I'm mad the stupidest thing they've all asked.
Bam.
So what were you undercover, were you trying to track down business or what?
And these
No, I was
This guy's pull up and be able to see.
then I went back to the FBI. In 3 years here, so first time I had to go out and have a fist fight out. Stopped it, actually showed up with a 45 on the hip.
I was the old way.
I had Fuller County the only other but that time really maybe have 15,000.
Really? You're deciding what are the top 10 issues? I had to do it. Someone take it home.
Watch this.
Make sure you get it back.
It's a nice one.
All right, everybody.
That is pen work.
I'm going to start again. Thank you so much for your time, inspiration. So we came up with a lot of people saying a lot of the same things. What a coincidence, right? So these are the topics that you all have come up with. You can take pictures, make sure, like, where did they get this idea? So the first one is unity. Basically, rural versus urban. What we also have is social media fights, transparency, trust, misleading campaigns, control growth, attacking people, not the issue, unreasonable change. So a lot of like tension and conflict. Does that make sense? And how do we, it's beautiful that people identify unity rather than problem. Like, I hate people, so, all right. So unity is great. Number 2, high density and everything that comes with high density populations. So if you can write populations, thank you so much. So high density populations, yes?
Can you get a definition of high density?
Sure, I'm not gonna give the definition, I'm just gonna read what people say. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The problem in a lot of mediations and facilitations is I manipulate your words to say what I think you want to say. What you really meant was, like 7,000 people in a square block, that's high density. You're like, no, I meant like 4. So really good question. High density, loss of identity through growth, high density population, reasonable to density of homes, developers want density. Does that make sense? And that's what you all said. So your question is saying, what does that mean? What's the problems of that? And that might not be an issue for you. So then don't focus on number 2. You might want to focus on traffic, right? Or you might want to focus on ag issues. There might be somebody that says, I don't care anything about anything except for taxes. I don't care if you do anything with animals. I don't care if you, et cetera, right? So I think that needs to be kind of noted. We're going to go to property. That was like personal property, like physical property, not like someone's wallet or car. We're looking at physical land property. So can you write land property? A lot of people talk about land. Yes?
Can we just clarify, these are not in any
Nope.
order of
No.
importance, so everybody understands, because problems came up.
Totally.
That's not the first.
No, I just wrote problems because when people at the end of the night roll this up, we know that problems are turquoise and solutions are blue. And no, it's not in any specific order. 10 didn't get the most. Actually, if we want to look at the most, it was probably animals and water, okay? If you wanted to know, like, and you could come up here and take pictures. We have only moved them around, so traffic, we're talking about vehicle traffic. Does that make sense? So if you could write car traffic, is that okay? Auto traffic, we'll say auto traffic, okay? Yeah, auto, okay, water, there was a number, everybody was like low water table, water, not enough water, right? All these issues, right? And we didn't want to get into the details. We're going to get into details now. What do you mean by water? Well, privatization of water. Like, okay, now we can talk about these things, but we got to talk about baby steps, right? Taxes, a lot of people are talking about more taxes, less taxes, lack of tax base. Where do we get taxes? Where do we get money? Are you going to tax us? Those kind of things. Does that make sense, everybody? So taxes, that's pretty clear. Animals, animal units, animal rights, animal ordinances, animal limits, reasonable animal ordinances, animal control, animals, animal rights. Yeah, does that make sense, everybody? Cool. All right. So now we're on businesses, and that was kind of like zoning, but I wanted to kind of keep that a little bit because people did kind of note that. I don't want to silence that experience. So like finding, funding, property, businesses, too few people, home businesses. Can you have a business in a home or not? A lot of people do that, like violin or piano, or you're doing your hair salon, etc. Zoning, I think everyone understands that. PC zoning, no plan communities. Does everyone understand what no plan communities are?
Yes.
Yes. Every community is planned, of course, but I think there's a frame and definition for, some aren't, right? Yeah, DC was even a bad place, right? So they put that in a swamp. And then we've got agriculture. Where's ag? Okay, ag protection without control, landowner rights. We looked at airport influence, rights of landowners, railroads going through lands, acres, and then we had some other acre issues, just ag stuff. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so if you write out a sticky notes, what we're going to do now is you're actually going to write a sentence or two. I would say max 2 sentences, okay? What do you mean? What do you mean when I say ag? Okay, yeah, and not everybody has to answer everything, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to 5 sticky notes, okay? So 5 sticky notes, and what we're going to do is let's try to make it 1 sentence. Sound good? Okay. I'm going to do a run-on sentence. As a professor, I'm like, oh man, this thing's going to be 5 pages long. Okay, so if we can, if you ran out of sticky notes, we can get some more. Just pass them down. Here you go. Shares. Okay. 5 sticky notes, a sentence on each one. Okay, does that sound fine?
Need more notes?
Do people need more than 5 sticky notes? Like 1 sentence on each one? People need more than 5 sticky notes. Okay, cool. 5 sticky notes, 1 sentence on each one, and then I will, when you're done, we'll go up and actually post them. Here you go, Josh.
Sticky notes, who needs some sticky notes?
Hey, everybody. So this, your name? Keith. Wonderful. Keith is asking great questions. So he said, under high density, can I say all these in a sentence? overcrowded, water problem, traffic and crime. And I said, yeah, just make it into a sentence. Does that make sense? Then we're getting a little bit more focused. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, great. Don't have a sentence with like 50 words. And please write as best as you can, like legible, because we want to get somebody from city council to take all these notes, take pictures. I want you all to take pictures. Why do I want you all to take pictures? Because when it comes to, the road meeting the tire meeting the road, and you say, I see 5 other things up here, and you all, when you took your notes, none of that's there. You started adding stuff. Does that make sense, everybody? So take pictures and then just keep it on there. You can actually take pictures, put it on Facebook. A lot of people are doing that. All right. Transparency is key to decrease conflict. Does that make sense, y'all? Make sense? Just be. What's your problem? Let me talk to you. Find out. And you articulate, i.e. the poems. Oh, yeah. That's it. A lot of people can't do it. The poem. Just. Poems. It's cool. Everybody's writing poems. Being concise. Very hard. We were just talking about try to be as concise as possible, right? With your words, so we know exactly what you mean. So if you say crime is a problem, don't say crime is a very, very, very bad problem. I got it. Okay, are you all ready? Okay, I just wanted some time for everyone to do it, but who's ready, if you can raise your hands? Okay, so if you're all ready, you can come up, just like gradually, and then they'll just make sure that you're only posting about 5. And they can be different issues, or you can put all 5 on one issue. Okay? If you got a spouse that says, you take the animals, I'll take the ag, that's fine too. It's part of the population here. It's not that one family gets one vote. And what I would do also, go up there, read them, and if somebody's already saying the same thing you are, then maybe go back, sit down, and change it so you're bringing up another important point. Does that make sense? So then you just wasted your point. So, I'm sorry, your name?
Oh, Rachel.
Rachel, take a second, look up there, see if anybody said the same thing. If they did, go back, write down something different. So it's important.
I've been there, but I don't know what the party is PC zone. Okay, so say that. Any communities are yeah, you can use another one. Any communities are causing this.
That
Well, he's on base. Well, I'm closer to Brian than I am to eight. Right away. I have the best arena.
You're on Erda.
Well, just off Erda. Four houses.
Oh, hija, ya está la verdad.
The phrase, neighbors got ground into arena.
Do you need a drink or anything?
No, he said I'll just have to get up and put it down.
I can get a drink.
Thank you.
Don't have what I drink.
What do you drink? Oh, yeah. Bring a flask next.
Sure, and then you'd have to get.
Oh.
Yeah, that one right there.
Depends on how much that plastic. I just said that right now.
Well,
Nice one, Cal.
having worked undercover for the state, I can't. When you get place to be. Oh, yeah.
Now they just
Is that it?
Broadway now.
Well, there used to actually be two bars. One was right on the big intersection. And the other is the restaurant. Well, it's this side. I don't know what it is.
Now that it's changed.
And then there was a bar in Lofgren. That's nothing. Leave, a burn, bar there.
There were standstills out of the standstill bar.
Not anymore.
That's that. So I had it when we were getting signatures. I don't know, a referendum last, or the year before, like, one of the guys was like, I'm gonna go get up, I'm gonna go get our advance filling up. What? No, they're gonna be so drunk that their pictures will be ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, really?
Streaming.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, everyone, if you can, make sure when you put your sticky notes up, you push them real hard. Don't want them to fall down, okay? Stay hard up there. And then just a nice kind of, one of the issues is unity. When you go up there, just say hi to somebody, or be nice.
Take Post-it notes. You see those topics up there on the left? You write a full sentence of this, what this issue is. You're concerned about traffic, just like about, you're concerned about zoning, water, or animal rights, and you write a full sentence and you go put it up on the page. Get her done. And can I have the solution to doing that?
That's such a hip hop.
Does everyone's got a issue. There's Post-it notes. I'm just gonna try my, here. Maintain whole lifestyle, right? Okay. Lifestyle, zoning ordinance, favor rural zoning.
All right, we're gonna get started in a little bit, so just bear with us.
versus you have 2 members on the council. That is
Support small businesses, put commercial where it belongs.
Push as hard as you can on those sticky notes.
An ordinance that it's a self-governance model. Here, use my pen. Because people are winding down. Write your section.
like I said, prior to that, so next to the onset, you have that's fully actually personal.
What do you want me to write for you? And what about zoning?
It's like,
Do you want to maintain rural town?
It does. By the end of it.
Limited. Okay. The most scared to be.
No, it's hard to, I really appreciate it. Without it, it's hard to do anything. And the credit stocks is actually super too. They're starting to realize that they're in a position where
Wednesday? Oh, it's
my house.
okay. We're not.
To a simple one sentence, and that would barely move us to solutions fairly quickly.
Should have worn your stuff.
Dill?
Alright, next time.
Okay, you're back.
I know you did.
Okay, so I can keep on going. We have one last person writing a note on the problems, and I'm going to ask a question of just the city council, who's going to be writing this up, because I do believe we have really high resolution cameras now, that we might not need the sticky notes, but we do need somebody that will be willing to take minutes or jot this up. So who from city council will be willing to do that, or at least who has a high resolution camera?
I'm already taking minutes.
Okay, so who has a high resolution camera with city council? Okay, cool. Can you come up here, please? Jess, right?
Yep.
Thank you so much. So he's going to take a picture of each of the pieces of paper. Does it make sense, everybody? So, and then, I don't know, do you all have like a website or something? He can post it out there. This is not secret information, right? But we want to be transparent. So he's just going to take a picture. So then, if you put it on a website, you can then click on the picture and then zoom in and then see each of the tabs. Cameras, a while back you couldn't do that with. Once he's done this, I'm going to read off a number of, if we get to it, we're just going to focus on some of the issues, and we can't focus on all of them. Does that make sense? So maybe another few days, we're going to look at this. And this is where you put a number of sentences. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm hoping you understand the process. So if, Jess, could you take a picture of all of these too?
Probably.
So no one has taken anything down from the sticky notes. Does that make sense? So no one has silenced you. No one is taking away anything. While if we waited, I'm not saying people would, but the possibility would increase. If you all left the room, I could start taking some sticky notes away. I'm like, the number one issue was a circus, right? So as Jess finishes up, I'm going to begin, and I'm sorry, your name? Carol. As Carol brilliantly said, this is in no order, right? Does that make sense, everybody? And so we're just gonna focus on, let's say 3 for now, okay? So you gotta take some time, reflect, and then we'll focus on the 3 right here, 1, 2, and 3. And Kayla, if you can write on the first one, unity, the second one, high density population, and then land property. Does that make sense? In blue. Can you help with that? Yeah. Okay. While you all are doing that, I'm gonna read what's on unity. Does that make sense, everybody? And do you have to remember? No, you can come up here, think about it, sit down again, read it again. Does that make sense? Okay. So, and I'll try my best to read it. Okay, so I'm just looking at a few of them. So one of them really quick, can everyone hear me back there? Okay, one of them says Facebook backbiting, okay? Okay, just got a nod, you get that? Okay, if I'm gonna say something, if you don't understand it, I don't want to just keep on going where 2 or 3 people don't understand what that means. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if you don't know what that means. Okay, cool. Next, problems wherein rumors are started that are untrue. Everyone understand that? We have that in our families. Too much anger and accusations between neighbors. Unity, ECA equals problem. And I'm just asking, I really don't know, what is ECA?
Erda Community Association.
Okay, cool. All right.
Didn't you have some kind of rule where you weren't supposed to be critical of people?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we should remove that post-it now.
Okay, I'm not going to remove it because when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about people, right? So, I hear you loud and clear. As an organization, it might be an issue, just like, it's Walmart or whatever else. But I want to keep it here for now because I don't want to silence anybody. But I do hear, and everybody else does feel, there's a few people in this room that feel uncomfortable. Does that make sense? Or might feel hurt. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. And that's honesty, right? It took a lot of guts for somebody to speak up and say, what about people? And what they were really saying is, I feel hurt. Does that make sense? A lot of the times you have to focus on the issue and not the person, and some people feel hurt, okay? So if there's a way to talk about ECA, what is the problem with ECA? It's not ECA. The organization is not the problem. It's what's going on of the problem. Does that make sense? Right? I don't have a problem with Brock. I have a problem with Brock when he hits me in the face. So it's when I have problems with people hitting me in the face. It's not Brock that I have a problem with. I just don't like getting hit in the face. Does that make sense? So what is the ECA doing that you have a problem with? Does that make sense, everybody? I'm not going to point out who wrote ECA, and then I think there's another maybe ECA, or another ECA, and that's fine. That's their truth. This is all about brainstorming. Nobody's wrong, okay? My job is to facilitate so we get a little bit more articulate about action rather than the person or the organization. So if you wrote ECA, or if you think you might have not wrote ECA, but if you know what they might have meant, which I don't know what the problems with ECA are, but if a few people, does anybody know any problems with ECA? Even if you love ECA, does anybody know what the common issues with ECA are? Raise your hand. Does anybody have any, Not that you agree with the problems with ECA. Does that make sense? Like, what are some ECA problems that you heard, right? Like, hey, I'll give you an example before you put your hand up because you feel like, oh, I'm gonna like get my head chopped off. I know that people don't like taking my classes because I know that people don't like writing papers and examining conflicts. Okay, that's it. But I don't believe that, but I want to know what's wrong with ECA. Does that make sense, everybody? So what are some issues? If you can write it down, put your hand up and I'll take them, okay? So what are some issues that somebody in this room might have with ECA, okay? Keep on going. So write them down right now, please. Yes?
I have a question because I haven't lived in Erda forever.
I'm sorry, what?
I have a question
Totally.
because I haven't lived in Erda forever. And I guess you would say new. I lived between two different states for a while. But some of the, like when I was asking a neighbor here, like some of these things, I came to this meeting because I wanted to find out what's going on in my community and the community that I want to live and stay in for a long time. And I don't know what you're talking about is. So I would like, I noticed that when I walked up there too, what are the issues? I just want to know. I know I don't want to put anybody in the spot, but, I just.
ECA, I'm assuming is could somebody just define, not,
Erda Community Association.
okay, and is it a nonprofit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a nonprofit that's not affiliated directly or owned by the government, right?
Correct.
Okay, and how many people are in it?
Hundreds.
Hundreds? Okay, a few hundred, let's say, sound good? And do they throw parties or picnics or meetings?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a social? Okay, great. What else do we know about them?
We're the ones that got Erda incorporated.
Okay, cool, awesome, thank you so much. Okay, so is that fair to say, everybody?
It's an activist group.
It's an activist group, cool, awesome.
Activist group, lawsuits too. There's a lot of lawsuits.
Okay, cool, awesome. And I know it's hard to hold your lip, like, it's not me against you. Cameron, thank you so much for sharing, because it's so hard for Cameron to say his truth. But he's behind a whole bunch of people that might be rolling their eyes. Nobody rolls their eyes. Okay? But all we're doing is putting it out there. We're not attacking each other. Okay? So, X, Y, and Z. Okay? So they're a nonprofit that got incorporated, Erda incorporated, that has some lawsuits, and it's an activist.
They just pushed it, they didn't get it.
Okay, they pushed it.
They just pushed it.
Okay. Thank you so much for the details. And that's why I'm, as city council asked me, like, I'm a third person that doesn't know anything. So I'm just like asking really basic elementary questions. Does that make sense, everybody? And now you're like, yeah, he doesn't know anything. He has like no clue. It's true. When I was coming in here, I thought he was like invested. Like, no, this guy. Okay, so now you know really truthfully, I don't know anything. Okay, so we'll just keep on going. Be kind, no pointing fingers, everybody. I don't want to just read it and go to keep on going. I want to check on you and then keep on moving. Longtime Erda residents get lost in new population and we lose who we are. Did everyone hear me? And what that's really saying is I feel not heard. I feel not validated, right? People always look at the problem. And William Ury from Harvard did a book. Don't look at the interest, not the problem. Don't be positioned, right? Look at the issue. Sometimes your kid says, "I hate you, Mom. I have to go to sleep." And you're like, the child just yelling and yelling. And little do you know, the child just wants to spend more time with you. You're like, oh, that's what you were saying. Like, you don't really hate me. You want to spend more time with me because you're at work until 9 o'clock. Does that make sense? So look beside the words. Because sometimes the words get in the way of our truths. Because we don't want to be vulnerable. We want to keep our face. We want to be strong and tough and screw this or screw that, right? Okay, so too much anger. I said that one. Unity. One viewpoint controls the city commission. This will lead to total conflict as they want no animal ordinances and no development. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, cool. let's be part of the solution to make the city work. Okay, I think I said everything there. Sound good, everybody? Okay, so I said it. If I go on to 1, 2, like 2, 3, and 4, you're gonna forget. Okay, so take a few minutes with your pen and paper and come up with solutions to that. Ready? Go. You don't have to, if that's not your issue, you don't have to. You can kind of look around and count the tile on the ceiling.
I'm not doing it. I can't believe they had the ball put that up on the wall. Seriously, want my opinion.
And if you forgot what I said, that's cool. This gentleman right here is taking a picture. You can take a picture and then sit down and then kind of expand it on your phone if you need to. Okay. If you have some solutions to those issues, don't be sarcastic. My second language is sarcasm, you know. So I love it. I wish we had like a little bit of like a sarcasm note. They're like, what can we do? Yeah, I got some problems. I got some solutions for you. Don't do that, okay? Even though it might be funny and giggles, try to put the solution. So everybody, write down, I would say, ideally 3 or less solutions. 1 sentence on each one. 1 or 2 sentences on each one. Try to put 2 to 3 solutions. Does that make sense, everybody? 2 or 3 solutions on the solution of unity. Ready? Go. Unity area, you can begin. Put your sticky notes up under unity for solutions. 3 sticky notes, 1 to 2 sentences on each sticky note. 1 to 2 sentences on each sticky note, 3 sticky notes max.
So, what do you want? Exactly you want to say? Would like.
So some solutions, building unity, could be a picnic. It could be a parade. It could be a 5K. I was talking to a few people that live in Erda, and I said, man, I would love to do a 5K for, unsheltered people. And all the money goes to, homeless people. That's a big issue for me, just so you know. And I'm sure it's for a lot of people. And I take my students in my criminal justice classes to downtown Salt Lake, and they're like, I don't want to go. They're dangerous. They're druggies. And I'm like, start talking to them. And one time I started talking to one of the guys there, and he was kind of groomed.
Yeah.
It was a father, and he was a banker. He lost his daughter because of suicide. He couldn't work. And he lost his wife. He couldn't even function. And he started doing drugs because of that, right? So why I'm saying this is be creative on how we can solve issues around unity. It might be a hike. It might be a walk. It might be a picnic. It might be putting out picnic tables in the neighborhood. I'm on an HOA in Salt Lake, and we have a wreath competition on our doors. Who's got the prettiest wreath? And we give, a nice coupon to somebody for groceries. Who's ever got the nicest wreath? Winner, real well.
or two.
Three's max. Three max. Thank you so much.
Not worried about
So, as we keep on going, there's a video camera in the back. And it's not monitoring people. It's trying to be more inclusive. So people that are working or are single parents or have disabilities, they can't leave their home, et cetera, et cetera. And so tonight, because each session is not one day after another, it's going to be a few weeks after a few weeks. Does that make sense? And you all can help participate, right, in doing this, right? Rather than just saying city council if I don't come back. Right? The point of the matter is, people on the camera can start adding to it too. Does that make sense? And so we're not silencing people because they don't have a car, or because they have 2 children, or because they have cancer. Right? It's really important. So, this is the fun part. Right? This is the feel-good stuff. Right? All right, so if anybody kind of remembers, I'll try to start reading. But you want to read 1 or 2? And then I'm going to try to, okay, so if you read 1 or 2. Does anybody remember, as she picks one to read and doesn't take it off the thing, it's very important not to touch other people's thoughts. And that's kind of the corruption. And I learned that really quick in prison. You're like, don't be touching my thing. He's like, whoa. All right. So if you want to learn how to resolve conflict, start in a prison, you know. So that being said, does anybody remember what they wrote up here that they're proud of? Any creative ideas? Yes.
I could be like Larry Sager.
I'm sorry, what?
Be like Larry Sager.
We like Larry Savers.
Sagers.
Sagers. Okay, sounds good. I remember they had Larry Savers.
He's one of the.
Okay, cool, awesome. Okay, sounds good. Anybody else remember what they said that they're proud of saying? Yes.
I just said lead with positive feedback.
Lead with positive feedback. Yep, cool. Lead or lead?
Lead.
Lead, cool. Yep. Thank you so much. Lead with positive feedback.
I didn't put this up there, but I think that I probably should have, but the whole Facebook thing is that moderators do a better job of removing people that are abusive, and there are some routine ones that are pretty abusive, so they could remove them.
And I'm gonna speak onto that, and I hear that, is sometimes being a moderator is hard work. Because I'm moderating right now, and if I had to silence somebody, that's hard. So, we've gotta help people become better moderators. And then if we see a problem, let's try to minimize it. So I hear that loud and clear, right? Does that make sense? So if we kind of lead with positivity, right, as you say, it's like, yeah, we see that there's a problem, but maybe they don't mean to be a problem, right? But you know, there are some people in this world that just are mean, like without a doubt, or they're overworked, right? And some people take on a position because they care so much, but they just, it's like, I'm getting on Facebook, Erda Facebook, whatever it's called, 17 posts a day, and I can't manage it because I work. I thought it was gonna be a fun thing, we're gonna talk about gardening, and, you know, et cetera, and now it's like, yes, thank you so much for sharing, it means a lot.
So I put stop bashing on Facebook, have face-to-face conversations.
Cool.
I read a thread today where there was bashing going on back and forth.
Can you wait a second?
Yeah.
If you can, everybody, I made some ground rules. I said one person speak at a time. If we can, people have disabilities, but then also it's a big room, right? Does that make sense? That's why I interrupted you. So I want everyone to hear that person. Does that make sense? If you do want to talk to somebody about leaving early or whatever, just sneak outside the hall with that person, talk and then come back in, okay? So I'm sorry to interrupt. So say that again, and then after this person speaks, then raise your hand.
I was reading through a post today and a couple people were going back and forth. And one individual specifically said, No, this seems like this isn't going anywhere, come have a face-to-face with me. Let's talk face-to-face.
Cool.
It's a lot harder to say things face-to-face that you wouldn't say on Facebook, that you would say on Facebook.
Yeah, totally, right? It's easy to take somebody down when you don't know somebody, right? But when you get to know them and then you get to know their kids and their animals or whatever, it's like, man, I can't hate you anymore, you know? So really great point, right? I'm going to expand on that topic when we're looking at solutions because Facebook came up a few times. Make sense, everybody? Okay? So who likes face-to-face conversations? Okay, cool. Some people do get anxiety on face-to-face, right? So when you have face-to-face conversations, and you know you're gonna meet somebody, what's your name again? Keith, I'm like, man, I do not wanna meet Keith. He's got a shotgun. And he's like, he is gonna scare me to bits. So, me and him are not dealing so well, right? Throw out some ideas right now. Raise your hand, don't interrupt, don't shout them out, one hand. What are some ways, if I'm going to meet with Keith, what are some positive ways I can meet with Keith in a positive way? I'll start. Do it in a public area. Okay, what's another one? Raise your hand. Yes?
You're texting, you're still talking to them, not to the world.
Okay.
So that's still, that's not face to face, but it's better than just going behind your back and spreading it out on the internet.
So texting is better than the face-to-face,
Right.
but we can kind of speak to that. If we-
It's kind of in between.
Yeah, good, okay, cool. All right, yep,
If it's face to face, you have to come willing to listen and unangry. You come angry, it's over.
cool.
They'll shut
Your body language is 55% of communication face-to-face, right? You're right now, with your arms open, they're not crossed, is saying, I'm welcoming you. When your arms are closed, you're saying, I'm closed off, right? I'll tell you something else also. When somebody's attracted to you, or when you're attracted to somebody, you look down because you're examining and grooming yourself. You normally move your hair. If you look left or right, you're not interested in that person, and they're not interested in you. So just a little 2 bits of picking up somebody. All right, so let's go back to face-to-face. Anybody else got any ideas? Yes,
Include food.
include food. Oh my God.
Taking donuts, taking something.
All
Always makes easy to talk.
right, cool. So now you're butt hyper, bouncing around, talking. Yeah. All right, yes. Eye contact. Okay,
To me, that's big.
Yeah.
okay,
If you're looking at somebody in the eye,
Yeah.
you're also listening.
okay. Did everybody hear that? Eye contact? But raise your hand if sometimes when you're nervous, you don't look somebody in the eye. And so, eye contact is really important for this individual. Your name is? Darlene. So I'm gonna try my best, but when I look away, I'm gonna say, Darlene, I'm just thinking. And when I think, I look up in the sky. It's not a disrespect. Or I'm from the East Coast, so I interrupt people all the time. Because I feed off of your energy and your thoughts, and it's not a disrespect, but when somebody does it and they don't know that about me, they say, dang, Anthony is so rude. And he's like, no, I'm just getting excited from what you're talking about. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So know your form of communication, right? Your cultural communication is different than somebody else's cultural communication, right? Okay, yes?
If you know you're gonna be in a confrontation, it might be good to have a disinterested party such as you involved in the conversation.
Yeah. I'm so disinterested.
Somebody who doesn't have a dog.
Totally. No, for sure. Does that make sense, everybody? Say, hey, can you and then if you have at least some cordial with Keith, right? Say, hey, you can pick the third person. I don't care. I just want to, can we just sit in a table or hang out, at a cool restaurant, whatever, hungry. My sister gets hangry, okay? So anybody else get hangry in here? Okay, yeah, so, right. Why don't you eat before we talk? Right. Any others? You are your own solutions.
Sometimes I think it's a good idea to apologize. And you say, well, maybe I didn't do anything. Well, maybe you didn't, but they took it that way. Because sometimes I open mouth and insert foot, and I didn't mean it the way it came out. And so it might just be good to get together and say, I'm really sorry. What can we do about this? Let's talk about it.
Thank you for coming. So we don't have to like ignore people when they're coming and going if this is a community, right? And if this was a family or friendships, we would acknowledge people when they leave the room. That's okay. To acknowledge somebody is to validate them and saying, I see you leaving, and that's okay, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, when you're having a confrontation with someone, check your facts.
Yeah, for sure. And like I think check your facts, bring your facts, okay? And then you can also not be an expert. It's like, you know something, you're right, and like we can all learn from somebody. Like I'm hoping we learn from somebody. I see Jess's hand, and I just over here, yes, Rob.
Empathy.
Cool.
Express empathy, right? We all come from different places, we all have different concerns, but I recognize that you're an individual, and you have your own thoughts and your own opinions, right? Just like me. So if I come from a place of empathy, the whole line of communication is gonna be so much more beneficial to all the parties involved. And hopefully, through communication, we can come to some kind of acknowledgement or solution or understanding, and then that's what community is about, right? It's like, we're all part of this same place, so let's make something good.
Brock is doing great work with people dealing with drug dependency issues. And that's his full-time gig while he's going to social work and working with people getting out of prison that have drug issues, drug dependency. Not drug abuse, drug dependency, right? So thanks so much. So framing issues. Okay, there's a hand right here.
Establish the focus, say it's the community, and can we talk about things that are reasonable and things that are fair? Let's just go with the focus, everything on reasonable and fair, and then if something comes up, you just ask the question, is that reasonable? You know, or is that clear over here? And if you establish the rules, let's talk reasonable and fair, so we can come.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's okay. I sometimes apologize when I was younger because I wanted the other person to apologize. Like, I apologize, now you apologize. Like, no, that's not how the world works. And I'm going to apologize because I want to be a good person in my life. If people spit on me, then they spit on me, right? But I want to know that I did what's right towards everybody. Does that make sense? So, like, don't assume that you're going to get an apology back, right? Assume nothing.
Something that I say a lot is that a pancake has two sides. And often we forget that there are two sides to a story. And we only be willing to listen to one side. And that, I just think that that's something we all should remember, that there are two sides to a pancake. Sometimes you have to flip it over.
For sure. I see a beautiful hand here.
I want to look at it from a bigger picture. We have a massive problem. This is a massive problem. It encompasses all of these things: land, animals, money, budgets, different points of view. And everyone is going to have to give some compromise. If there is not some compromise, we will have nothing but conflict. And this is under unity. And everyone has to realize that they cannot have 100% of their way. And until and unless that happens with everyone, this city will fall apart. We have to be able to work together. We have to be able to let the other person have something. You're not going to have no animals, and you're not going to have a million animals. You're not going to have high density and no density. There has to be some compromise, and until we can get that in our heads, this unity problem will be there continually.
I'm hearing you loud and clear. I'm doing something that comes from you. Okay. Okay. So in conflict management, and everybody needs to know this, This is in the way, or no? Okay. In conflict management, this is like, can you see this? Okay. Oh, this is in the way? All right, thank you. All right. So here, there's 5 ways to manage conflict. There's 5 ways to manage conflict. If you don't care about the relationship and you don't care about the issue, you avoid. And that's great. Domestic violence, for example, you avoid. That's an empowerment. Every single one of these 5, right? For the last 30 years, every single field of conflict management, conflict studies, law professors have all focused on this 5 issues. Does that make sense? So you avoid if you don't care about the issue and you don't care about the relationship. Compromise is in the middle. You care a little about the relationship and you care a little bit about the issue. Okay? If you care about the relationship, okay, but you don't care about the issue, okay, you cooperate. If you care about the relationship a lot and you care about the issue a lot, okay, but it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of creativity, and very few people get there, it's called collaboration.
It's all right, it's just a counting ball.
Yeah. Collaboration, okay? If you care, if you care about the issue, like I want to go to the movies and I don't care who's going with me, it's being coercive. Some people say that being coercive is really bad. But if a child is running across the street, I don't care about the relationship with that child. I'm grabbing that child, make sure they don't get hit. Does that make sense? So in every single one of these, there is an advantage, okay? And most of the time, we ideally want to try to get to compromise, right? But, like, hopefully in a dream world, we get to a collaboration, right? But let's try to fall into that idea of compromise and collaboration. Does that make sense, y'all? So thanks so much for pointing that out and sharing, okay? So we're taking things slow, okay? We did a lot of work tonight, okay? We've got a little bit of time left, and we're going to do one more tonight, focusing on high density, unless, yes?
In my mind, number 2, 3, and 9 are all the same topic. And you're going to discuss this issue. I think the majority of the people came here tonight thinking that's going to be one of the big topics, okay? So I don't think you need to break those into 3. That's all the exact same problem.
That's his opinion.
Okay, so if that is the case, okay, and I'm not saying it is, but as a few people have kind of said, well, that might be the case, right? And people want to rush through things, right? Is then what we will do, and you make a really great point, is that if, I don't know what numbers you said, but if let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 are the same, then don't waste your time putting sticky notes up, just put sticky notes up for one of them and call it a day. Does that make sense? So then only 4 people that really care about high density and see the difference between high density and land property or high density and traffic will then put the sticky notes up. Does that make sense, everybody? If it doesn't apply, let it fly, right? So if you don't really want to focus on high density, then don't do that. Focus on the issue that focus. So then we only got 3 people done, and then after those 3 people go, we're done. Does that make sense, everybody? But I'm not here to silence anybody's area because high density was focused on repetitively, and then the concept, land property, was said over and over again. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, sir.
Zoning controls density, and density is on property.
Totally. I hear.
Break those 3 apart.
Oh, totally. We could go like, now you're a thinker. It's very, I get that. And I mean, we can connect all of these issues, right? We could and that's the beauty of that, right? That's what a community is based on. You can't have family without high density. You can't have family without unity. You can't have family and a job without taxes. You don't need animals if you don't got family. So we should be focusing on family. Right? Like, does that make sense? Like, we can connect these, and they all do connect. But people want to focus on certain things in their community. Right? Does that make sense? And I know you're getting frustrated, but one of the rules was foster on patience. Foster patience. Just promote patience. It's going to be a slow process. People are hurting here. Why do I know that? Because people sent me emails and phone calls to the third party when they found out. They're like, I'm hurt, this person sucks. And I was like, okay. Like, I thought twice about coming here. You know? It's like, but people are hurting. And all I want to do, and I think everybody doesn't want to hurt people. And if people don't want to hurt, then let's just kind of take our time. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, so yes.
I'm just gonna throw it out there and say, my issue is land property has nothing to do with high density, because I don't care what somebody else does with their land, don't change mine.
Cool, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable and sharing, okay? So we have a little bit of time. I don't want to get you too exhausted, but this is what we're going to try to do for these 10 issues. And as you said, sir, what's your name?
Chuck.
Chuck, thank you so much, Chuck. As Chuck said, this one might take 10 seconds. This one might take 30 hours, right? Does that make sense? So if this takes 10 seconds and everybody knows what the one issue is about land property, then let's jump on to the next one. Does that make sense? Okay. So, yes, sir.
So you have said several times, if I come back.
Yes.
What's it gonna take to get you to come back? No, what's it gonna take? Tell us.
Well,
I wanna know.
I want to be needed by you all.
We need you.
And as long as, if you think, if you need me, and I don't want to know right now because there's peer pressure. Does that make sense, y'all? And I know when somebody comes in a room and you're talking about your home, right? I'm working with 47 homes and I'm on the board of an HOA. I mean, it gets hostile there. I'm like, we're talking about ducks. Right? What are you doing that with ducks? And I'm like, I thought they were kind of cute. That's why I didn't care. But they're like, so I want to be you all, I'm sure there's an email, and please be honest. If somebody doesn't feel comfortable with me, that's fine. I'm not going to take it personally. Does that make sense? I don't like Anthony because he's too short, or whatever it is. He's Italian, right? Whatever it is, you can say your truth, and I won't be hurt. But if you lie, you're lying to yourself, and you're lying to your own interest. So then Jesse might set up an email, or if there isn't that email that everyone can kind of send it to. Does that make sense? And we'll set that up. We could set a Gmail Erda for town hall meeting 2022, March, email up in a matter of a second on the phone. Okay? So I'll ask before we go on, is there an Erda email?
There are lots. There's not one dedicated for that.
Okay, how about this? I'll give you my email, and I'll be honest with you. If you have a problem with me, or an issue that I'm bringing, okay, or you're concerned that I'm bringing an issue in, or I'm silencing you because you have a disability and you can't hear me, and you would rather, have things written down or et cetera, then please send me an email. Does that make sense? And what I will do is I'll contact city council and say, hey, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I feel that I'm not the right person for this job. Does that make sense at all?
Can you just write your email address?
Yes, for sure. I'll do it right now.
That's an issue.
NOCELLA@yahoo.com. Nocella. Okay? Okay, Nocella@yahoo. Thanks so much for feedback. But I do not want to cause more harm and hurt than you all are dealing with right now. Right? Does that make sense, everybody? And that's fine. You're coming, some people are like, I want land, I want to sell land. And that's why I came tonight, right? Because I want to put some food on my table. There's nothing wrong with trying to make some money. And there's some other people that says, I just, want X, Y, and Z. So whatever your stake is in the game, that's your stake. And nobody should unvalidate that stake. Does that make sense, everybody? Right? But I think we came a long way. Being civil in a room, I was never in other rooms, but being civil in a room, smiling, right? And caring about each other, that can go a long way. That can go a heck of a long way. Wouldn't you like to have Erda to be the place where it's the most beautiful, loving place in the world? It's fuzzy, cute, and I know people are rolling their eyes, but that's kind of the ideal, right? Okay? And I'm not, trying to be too hippie and utopian, but I'm trying to say that you gotta work on relationships. And everyone knows that because you brought unity up. And I just by coincidence put unity there, right? We've got a little bit of time. I'm gonna look at land property because there's just a few things. Agriculture's got a few things, okay? So let's do agriculture and then we'll close up tonight. We're gonna do an evaluation, right? And then we'll do a closing. And the closing will be a kind of a community get to know each other for a few minutes. Does that make sense, everybody? So ag has like 6 tabs, but I didn't want to silence y'all that wrote ag stuff up there. Right? So, take your pens and sticky note out, and if you got nothing to say, then it's going to go by quick. Make sense? Okay, great. Agriculture must be the right of a farm or a farmer. Okay? Agriculture, people that own animals being outvoted by people on small lots. Make sense, everybody? Okay, railroad going through our neighborhood causes problems with our families and our animals and agriculture. Make sense, everybody? Yeah. Airport, protecting the land use beyond the borders. I believe that. I think I said that right. Does that make sense somewhat? Okay. Railroad too close to home. Okay. All land use ordinances should be protecting the farmers or else farming will leave. Yeah. We do need farmers. I do. Love my farmer. There should be like a bumper sticker, love your local farmer. Okay. All right. So if you've got solutions to those issues, write them up. The next minute you can just start sticking them up, and we'll put it under number 10. So if you want to write number 10 up, farm.
Agriculture.
Agriculture. Yep. Sorry. So this one might take 5 minutes. Chuck, if I can ask you a question, I want to validate you and listen to you. Which one do you think will take the most amount of time, in your opinion?
2, 3, and 9.
2, 3, and 9. Okay, cool. Thanks so much. That's just good to know when I'm moderating. Just, we start something, like get into it all depends. Okay, and then we get some other viewpoints. Pretty quick. Okay, awesome. Any issues? There was issues here, there's problems. Okay? If you care about your neighbor and these issues are not even your issues, please put solutions for them. Because somebody in this room cares about these issues. Okay? So we're not moving on unless we got 3 or 4 solutions to these things. So even if that's not your issue, please put them up. Read them again. Okay, thanks so much. Okay, everybody. Somebody has to read them again, so you can post things up, but I'll read them. Okay. Agricultural, people that own animals being outvoted by small lots. Okay, that's one. Agriculture must be the right to the farmer. Railroads going through neighborhoods, causing problems with our families, our animals, and ag. Airports detecting the land use beyond the border. Railroads too close to homes. All land use ordinances should be protecting the farmers, or else farmers will leave. That's a good sign when you get more solutions than problems.
Yes, 4 engineers, 5
Oh, that's that then.
Yeah.
We got a good budget, we can do it.
Yeah.
All right. All right, I'm going to read, I think we got them all. I'm going to read the solutions, and then we're going to do an evaluation of tonight, and then quick closing. Okay? So it is, we got about 7 minutes left. I want to respect people's time. People might have gotten, babysitters, etc. Is babysitting an issue in this group? I'm taking that seriously because what we could do if we do it next time is have somebody in another room taking care of children. We can put them together and have a happy time. Dogs and babies. All right, ready everybody? I'm reading them off. Okay, don't resurrect the rail line. That's one. Okay? Keep lot size to comply with current city ordinances the way people can decide animals or vegetation. Did I say that right? Okay. Plan show not fast to do it good. Help me here.
Plan slow, maybe?
Plan slow? Okay, so plan slow, not fast. Do it good. Okay, got it now.
Maybe.
You statements, yeah. All right. Keep the majority of Erda agriculturally zoned. Okay? These might, zing a few people. These are just people's brainstorming ideas. Does that make sense? Nobody's wrong. It's just your idea. You don't have to get defensive. Okay? Having farm community walls that protect farmers and keeping lot size for large animals. Does that make sense? The railroad will harm the family's property and does not need to be built. We need open space, fields, farms, the whole reason I moved here. When somebody writes an I statement, it's really personal. People zoning will allow for people to coexist with farmers areas, need to be reserved for ag with areas for homes. Does that make sense? And railroad, that's it. That was pretty simple. Provide zone buffers. Cool.
What was that last one?
Support A20, no regulations on animals in this zone. Does that make sense? Don't buy next to a railroad track and then require them to move. Right? So we're getting some giggles here. This is great. Don't change the land around me and then require me to change mine. That's like both of them are really close. Like, okay, here's a one. This is the last one. Don't pave over all the open ground. don't want to live in a concrete jungle. Man, wow. Yeah, go to Houston. You'll find out. Yeah, my family is on a hill. It's about 4 feet off the road. It was the only house that didn't get flooded. And now their property's a lot more. But it was in the city. People lost their, so yeah, concrete can cause a lot of damage. But also they're below sea level too. That's a little small town. So I have to add that, right? So, all right. So evaluations really quick. And then we're gonna do 5-1. Make sense? Okay, 5-1. 5, you really like it. 1, I wish you talked more about it. I really didn't like it. I wish we didn't do this. Does that make sense, everybody? Okay, cool. Welcoming ground rules, 5-1. Did you think they were useful? Not useful? Just put them up, 5-1.
5 being the highest one.
5 being, I really liked it. 1, I don't say dislike. I wish we did it better, or I saw more of it, or just didn't vibe with me, etc. Right? I don't like to create binaries of like and dislike. Does that make sense? Okay, so 5. Okay, cool. Okay, 2. Okay, cool. All right, cool. I think we're at 3.5. All right, awesome. All right. No. I saw a lot of 5s. I saw some 2s. I just did a quick math. I was the fastest mathematician in the world. Okay, identifying the issue, which is this. Did you think that was useful? 5, 4, 2. That was a waste of my time. Okay. 4, 5, 3, 4 is 5. Okay, so I'm at like 4.5 here. Okay, cool. Number of issues. When we started breaking up the issues and created those 10 issues, do you feel like you were silenced? Do you feel that you were railroaded? Forgive me for the pun. So, do you feel like that was a fair one? Okay, so number of the issue, 5, 4. Okay. We didn't take all the stuff in the other room and do it. Does that make sense? Like, the process is very important. Right? The number of the issue. Okay. 4. Okay. Define the problem of the issue over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 again. We're going to do this quick. Did you think that was useful? Okay. If not, we'll do something different. It's okay. There's a lot of brilliant minds in this room. Okay, cool. Okay, 5, I see. Okay, we only got to 2 of them, which is fine. We've got possible more solutions. Develop solutions. Was that useful? It's not the end. It's just we're looking at solutions. Cool. All right. I've got 3. Okay. What? 3.5. How's that? Okay. Great. So, all right. I'm going to do a closing. We got 1 minute. To the person on the left and the right of you, tell them one reason why you like Erda. Introduce yourselves and tell them one reason why you like Erda. All right. Okay, one last question. Jesse wants the room. We're gonna leave here in a second, but he just wants the room for a second. Okay. So one last thing. I do a lot of community building around gangs, and I went down to Columbia, and from 2000 to 2004, I did a lot of work in bringing peacemakers and FARC and paramilitary together and seeing dead bodies floating on the river. And so what I want you all to do is share something, okay? And I'll tell you what, okay? Something that you like about yourself to somebody else in the room. That's it. What do you like about yourself to somebody else in the room? Okay? Just on the next to you. what do you like about yourself? Somebody next, right, go, and then we're gonna wrap up. All right, beautiful. Thank you so much. You gotta be vulnerable and you gotta get to know each other. Right? Okay, so we're making history here, for the good or the bad. We're making history. It's gonna be a lot of hurts and a lot of pain. There might be some joy as well, okay? And I think, this is the beginning. I'm gonna leave the room, and the people that came with me are gonna leave the room, and then, once you're done talking, you can invite us back into the room. So, do you need us to leave or no?
I don't need you to.
Oh, okay, I thought it was like, all right, I didn't know it was getting heated. All right, there you go, take over. Thanks so much, y'all.
Show of hands, who thought this was worth their time tonight? Who felt like Mr. Nocello here was biased in any way? Is it healthy for Erda to be engaging in a discussion like this? Raise your hand. Who would like to see us try to get Anthony back here? Okay. Thank you. Let's give it up for Anthony.
Thank you so much, y'all. Have a beautiful night. Take care of yourselves, take care of others. If you got extra sticky notes or pens.
Very good. No problema.
Okay, I will.
I need some. I have a